Hey, good afternoon,
Hi,
everyone. We're
welcome
just
everybody.
getting some people in. Hello, Diana.
Brilliant. People have already found the chat function. Amazing. So we'll just wait a minute or so just to give everybody a chance to grab lunch or cup of tea whilst they tune into this session today. So we'll just give it one more minute before we start. I feel like the chat box is going to be really busy today. Hi, Linda. Hi, Diana. Lovely to see you both.
I don't know if you remember, Tom, but that's Linda that came to our wedding.
I do remember, yes. Hi, Linda. Many, many years ago now.
Many, many, many years.
So just give it a few more seconds. We've still got people coming in. We had quite a few registered for today's session. Okay. I think we've given everybody enough time now, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Wonderful. So welcome, everybody. Today's session will be recorded. So your cameras and mics will be off, so no one will see that. And everybody will be sent the recording afterwards. It will also be made available on our website. And so you'll be able to come back and revisit this session and take out those useful bits of information that you have learned today, along with all of our other recordings. So, but before we dive into today's session and I hand over to Leanne, I'd just like to take 60 seconds just to tell you something about one of our popular services. At Beam, we offer therapeutic coaching designed to support individuals, because when one person grows in confidence or navigates a tricky return to work or settles into a new management role, then the whole team benefits. Now, this service we can do virtually, and it starts from £80 a session, or you can get us both in, or one of us, and we'll come into your offices and you can send people to us and we will help coach individuals. So if you'd like to find out more information about this after the session, then pop a thumbs up in the chat and I'll follow up with you directly. So if you have been a part of the group, you may have noticed that we have recently launched our People digital magazine, and we are so proud of this. If you read the first magazine, we had a look at compassion fatigue, how to take an empathy break, and why EAPs are not enough, plus much more. The second, so we're going to be running this magazine every other month, and the next one is set to be even better, because we are asking people in this community to contribute, to make it something that is interesting for people in a people management role. So if you would like to contribute an article to the August edition or the October edition of the People magazine, then drop us a message. I will put details for this all in the chat as well. But we're very excited for this. I'll also put a link to the past magazine, but it will also be in all the follow-up emails. So that is it from me. I'm going to hand over to Leanne, and she is going to guide you through today's session on managing boundaries.
Thank you very much, Tom, and good afternoon, everyone. It's always so lovely to spend these moments with you. We deliver these sessions once a month, and it seems to go by really quickly. This one is a super important session. It's all about boundaries, which as a people person is really crucial. So if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to share, if while I'm delivering you want to do that, please use the chat box, feel free. If you want to ask a question, bear in mind that we are recording. So we always wrap this session up, say thank you, turn the recording off, and then you can ask a question because most people are more comfortable with that on camera or on mic, by all means. Plus, we will give you our contact details. So if you want to reach out to us privately, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So this session, we're going to cover a fair bit. We're going to look at why boundaries are essential in people-led roles. We're going to look at what it looks like if we don't have boundaries. You'll probably know the feeling, but we're going to look at how that shows up. We'll look at what healthy boundaries really look like, and hopefully without any feelings of guilt or drama or should I be doing that? Oh, I'm so glad, Heidi. I'm so glad that you're in the right place. And then importantly, as with any Beam session, we always love to give you some knowledge, explain a topic, give you some of the science behind it, and then importantly, give you lots of practical tools. We have just under 40 minutes together now, and I'm going to share with you some of my favorite boundary tools. I will be really honest, boundaries is something that I used to really struggle with. I've probably admitted to many of you before that have come across us, I'm inherently a people pleaser. People pleasers aren't great with boundaries. So I'm not only going to share with you some of the theory and the science and what we deliver on and what we use in the therapy room, but I'm also going to share with you some of my own personal experiences. So I can tell you what's worked for me and how I've applied them. So let's have a look at why boundaries are essential if you're in a people-centric role. People-focused roles are always built on trust, empathy, being available, which is lovely. But actually, if you feel like you're always available, if you feel like you're always the point of contact, it can feel incredibly exhausting. We've done sessions before about empathy fatigue, compassion fatigue, the wellbeing paradox. The role that you're in is not just doing a job. You are often carrying a lot of emotional weight. You really undergo a lot of emotional labor in your role. You might be dealing with restructures, you might be supporting people going through really personal challenges. Maybe you've got an employee that is absolutely fine at work, but they're grieving. Maybe you've got some conflict going on at work. Maybe you're just feeling the pressure of being the one that everyone turns to. And sometimes that can cause us to really absorb the stress in all directions. If you are in HR in particular, you know that you're the person that people go to when there's bad news. You're the person that holds space for people having an emotional breakdown, for crying. And that means that you need a greater sense of resilience than most. There's also this idea of the well-being paradox, which I've touched on before. The well-being paradox is so interesting. It's part of the reason we set up People last year. Tom and I, through our work of delivering well-being and personal development training and support for staff, we have really good relationships with a lot of people who work in people and culture, work in HR. And we just found the same thing. We build up relationships with these people, have really honest conversations, and we could see how passionately they cared for their staff. They wanted to make a difference, they wanted to support them, and yet they themselves were not really the best at taking care of themselves. That's the well-being paradox in action. We tell everyone else what they should be doing, and we're not very good at walking the talk ourselves. So having boundaries is essential because it protects our own well-being. It protects our self-care. Being compassionate doesn't mean that you're invincible. Because you care about other people, it doesn't mean that you can just keep taking stuff on, taking stuff on. Not only are you caring for everyone else, but you also have your own stuff going on. You might be worried about the direction that your company's going right now. You might be dealing with some conflict at work. You might be dealing with some stuff at home that nobody in the office has any idea about. That can lead us to experience this compassion fatigue. just feeling tired of constantly having to care for everyone and possibly feeling like nobody's really caring for ourselves. This is something, again, we see so often in really kind, caring people, that they're taking on so much for everyone else and they don't necessarily have a space to go for themselves. And then without boundaries, you start to create invisible contracts that you never agreed to. Without boundaries, you start to show people how they should treat you. Brené Brown is the world's leading expert on boundaries. She talks a lot about boundaries and says that boundaries are how we tell other people to treat us. If I don't have boundaries, then other people don't know that they're pushing them. So if I stay late every night, that becomes my norm. It's my invisible contract. If I answer emails at 10 p.m., then that becomes my norm, my invisible contract. If I get involved in every conversation and people always come to me and I drop everything instantly for every conversation, that becomes my norm and my invisible contract. Most of the time, other people don't necessarily know they're overstepping the boundaries. And I think that's quite important because we certainly with friends and family, we sometimes feel like, oh, they're really taking advantage of me. They're always asking me to help. They're always expecting me to do something. But actually, if we've not communicated to someone that that's not okay, they might have no ill intent whatsoever. They might assume and believe that this is what you love to do. So we really need to have boundaries. Every human being needs to have boundaries, but if we're in a people-centric role, it is vital. So I'm not going to ask you to share anything in this session, but what I do want you to do is to just take this, as Heidi mentioned right at the start, this is an opportunity for you to have your own empathy break, your own little bit of me time, and I want you to get the most out of that. So I want you to have a little reflect, maybe with pen and paper, and just think, what do I keep saying yes to? But if I'm really honest, it leaves me feeling drained, frustrated, resentful. I have a good friend who is so immersed in so many different clubs and yet tells me frequently how exhausted she is and frustrated that everyone within those clubs expects her to do the organising. She's completely drained by it, but hasn't communicated to them that this isn't what she wants to do. What is something that you're doing right now that is draining you, frustrating you? Do you feel that there's a place in your life where you feel like you're being taken advantage of, where you feel like someone's overstepping, where you feel like you're always the one that has to? It can be the most meaningful thing. I work with clients who feel like they're always the one that has to remember to put the dishwasher on. And it can be something huge, like, oh, I'm always the one that has to make sure the bills are paid. All of it carries some sort of emotional weight for us. So, where are you saying yes, where you should be saying no? There's a beautiful little quote. I don't know where it ever originally came from, but it's certainly shared on social media a lot, which is every time I say a yes, I don't want to say, I'm saying no to myself. And that really resonated with me. It really stuck with me and made me realize that so often when I say yes, I'll go there, yes, I'll do that, yes, that actually the person who's really hurting from that is me. And that made me feel a little bit stronger and a little bit more confident in saying no at times. So, what types of boundaries are there? Boundaries aren't just saying no, there are lots of different types of boundaries. And we need to establish them in order to make sure that people are adhering to them. I think certainly since 2020, our work home boundaries have blurred more than they ever have before. If you're a hybrid worker, you may well find that actually your office now is just a corner of your dining room or your spare bedroom. It's not a clear boundary. If we go back 30 years ago, people went to work, they worked at their desk, and then when they went away, they weren't contactable by phone or email. They didn't have the desk in their living room and the laptop there. So those boundaries were much clearer. Some boundaries that are worth us bearing in mind are physical boundaries. This is super important in every interaction we have with other people. It's about protecting our space and our body. Your right not to be touched, your right not to be intimidated, your right to care for your body, your right to rest and eat and not have that kind of taken away from you. We all know that feeling, usually when we're sat down. It can happen anywhere, but when you're sat down and someone comes and they talk over you, and you just instantly start to feel really uncomfortable because they're just a bit too close and you're aware that you're looking up. And usually our body language changes and we start to pull away to create some space and some distance. Physical boundaries are about accepting that I need that space and distance. It defines where I stop and you start. Now, of course, with some people, we're fine. Some people we're happy to hug, we're happy to sit close to, but some people we're absolutely not. So we need to be really respectful of that. Our emotional boundaries, this refers to our feelings. It includes being aware of what you want to share, what you don't want to share. Whenever we deliver any workshop, I'm always really mindful of reassuring people that we're never going to go around the room and make people tell us something they don't want to tell us. I think we've all been on training courses like that, super stressful, super uncomfortable. Recognizing that actually oversharing can be dangerous for some people. It can disrupt them, it can make them feel incredibly unsettled emotionally. Emotional boundaries are also your right to feel how you feel. It can be violated if someone belittles us, criticizes us, or devalues our emotion. Someone saying, oh, don't get upset over that, or oh, come on, you're being a bit silly. Instantly, that boundary's crossed because we feel like our needs don't matter, our emotional needs don't matter. You absolutely have the right to feel whatever you feel. Nobody else needs to agree with it, but you are absolutely entitled to feel what you feel. And you shouldn't be in an environment where you feel like those feelings are constantly criticized or invalidated. Equally, we need to take responsibility for respecting that in other people as well. So emotional boundaries accept that my feelings might be different to yours. Doesn't make either any less valid. I'm accountable for me. I'm accountable for how I show up emotionally. They also allow us to create emotional safety of respecting someone else's emotional boundary. So asking someone if they want to share something and totally respecting when they say, I don't feel comfortable discussing it. Time boundaries, certainly one that we see abused at work, but also at home. Your time boundaries protect how you spend your time. They protect you from agreeing to do things that you want to do and agreeing to do things you don't want to do. They protect you from having people wasting your time, being overworked. If you are someone who constantly is checking work emails on your phone, your time boundaries are pretty poor. If you are someone who constantly has people popping into your office and saying, and I think we all get this a lot. I know Tom and I certainly get this a lot. Can I just pick your brains? Can I just run this by you? And of course you want to be helpful. You're in a caring profession. Of course you want to be supportive. But equally, you also need to protect that space. You need to protect that energy. Your intellectual boundaries. This is having respect for everyone else's ideas, everyone else's way of seeing the world. Um, we don't see a lot of this on social media. We don't see a lot of this if people discuss politics on social media, for example. We can really kind of belittle other people's thoughts, even with a non-verbal way of communicating, an eye roll, a tut, a sigh, a looking away. And whilst you definitely do not have to agree with everybody's thoughts and beliefs, a strong intellectual boundary is saying it's okay for us to think differently. It's okay for us to have different beliefs, but let's be respectful. And then probably the most broken one, and we're our own worst enemy here, are digital boundaries. As I gave that example of, 30 years ago working, we wouldn't have had a constant digital demand on us. Now we are ever pressured to be 24/7 available. Our devices constantly buzz. I was going to say make a noise, but actually, most people I know never have the sound on their phone anymore. It's really unusual to have it, but they buzz, or our laptop beeps. We have tablets, we have smartwatches. A recent report found that 90% of us check our phones in the last hour before we go to sleep, and spontaneously pick up our phones as one of the first things we do in the morning. We are addicted to our devices, and most of us know this, most of us accept it, and yet we don't realize the emotional and physical strain that's having on us, leaving us drained, leaving us exhausted, making us feel that we always have to be constantly available. Certainly in the therapy room, I have so many people that feel if someone's messaged them, they have to reply as soon as they've seen that message. I have people who have friends or family who will message them at all sorts of times of the day and night with no respect for their digital boundaries. We are definitely responsible for putting a digital boundary in place. That might be that I don't reply to my messages immediately unless they're urgent. I put my phone away at 9 p.m., or I don't have my phone at the dinner table, or I make sure I don't have my phone on display if I'm in an important conversation. Research has shown that even just having your phone face down on a table while you're talking to someone impairs your ability to fully concentrate. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Even your phone just beeping and you not even looking at it, but being aware my phone just beeped or buzzed is enough to pull our attention away. And it can take around 20 minutes for us to get our attention back into full flow. So those devices are absolutely impacting our ability to be able to switch off, shut down, have a bit of space and a bit of distance. So what does it look like if we don't have boundaries? I am pretty sure there are some of you here right now who are already listening to this thinking, I definitely need to do a bit better. I'm not doing so good here. I'm definitely struggling. So these are some warning signs I'd look out for that would be certainly an amber flag for me that your boundaries need a bit of work. You're always exhausted. You feel that you're taking on more than you can handle. Again, we know this intuitively. We might not say it out loud, but intuitively we know. You might realize that you're letting things drop a little bit because you're so tired. You've taken on so much. You often say yes when you mean to say no. It's probably the most common sign of a boundary issue. Saying yes when you mean to say no is a real clear indication that you're not comfortable communicating your boundaries, that it's something you need to work on. You vent about people who've wronged you. Venting has a little moment of worth. It can be healthy if you vent in a positive, constructive way. But if you're venting all the time, it probably means you have some boundary issues because someone is constantly making you feel like they're taking advantage. It often means that it's an opportunity for you to say to a third party what you wish you could say to that person. So we're kind of using that third party as a sounding board because we wish we could say it's that person, but we couldn't. Because of that, it's a sign that it's telling us that we're perhaps not being honest. We're not setting a boundary with someone that we really need to. You over apologize. I mean, there's definitely a bit of cultural issue here. As Brits, we tend to apologize quite a lot anyway. But you find that you say sorry when you've done nothing wrong. You apologize for the most innocent of things. People who are uncomfortable with setting boundaries often apologize because they're really concerned about what other people think. They've got that people pleasing part of them. You worry about letting other people down more than yourself, is that thing that I just mentioned. When I keep saying yes to everyone else, I'm saying no to myself. I put everyone else's needs and priorities above my own. I often lie to myself and tell myself that when I've done all of these things for everyone else, I'll finally get to myself. It's a sign, really, that we're worried about letting other people down. It's a sign that we feel we need to be keeping other people happy. It's usually a learnt behavior, often from childhood, but it means that we're kind of giving this subconscious message that everyone else is more important than me. You always go with the flow. You're the person in the friend group who says, "Oh, I'll just go with the flow." Now, it's fine at times to go with the flow, but if you're constantly doing that, it might be a sign that you're too afraid to actually speak up and say what you really want. You're scared of voicing your needs. Perhaps you're scared of saying, "Well, actually, I don't want to go to that restaurant again. I don't really enjoy it." And then people could describe you as being too nice. It's a weird term, right? Are you too nice? Is it that you're too nice, or is it that you're just afraid of asserting your boundaries? Being a kind person is a really good thing. But if people are constantly telling you, "Oh, you're too nice, you're too easygoing," then maybe that's a sign that you're not being too nice. You're actually being um, less honest about what you need. You're concealing that. So do you tick any of these boxes? Are you ticking lots of these boxes? So how do we work out what is a healthy boundary? I really love the simplicity of Brené Brown's definition. She says a boundary is showing people what is and is not okay. There's this thing, and this comes up a lot when I'm coaching clients, where we talk about the golden rule. I think most of you will have heard of the golden rule. It's the idea that um, comes up in almost every religious text, which is we should treat other people the way they wish to be treated. The problem with that is we don't necessarily know how other people want to be treated. And so what we need to do is to start to be a bit more aware of boundaries will differ for every person. You might be more than happy to be dealing with emails at 10 p.m. It might suit you, but that doesn't mean that your colleague has the same feeling and the same need. So a healthy boundary is a sign that your needs are met. You feel like your voice is being heard, that you matter. It's communicated clearly. What we want with a boundary is what I call a bright line boundary. I know we've got a few lawyers on this call. A bright line statement in law is an ambiguous statement. It is. A bright line boundary isn't an ambiguous statement against what you will and will not tolerate. So a bright line boundary could be, I don't check my work emails after 6 p.m. It's a very bright line boundary. The problem is many of us have what I would call fuzzy boundaries, is I don't usually like to check my emails after 6 p.m., but sometimes I will. If I'm a bit bored, I might go in, or if I know there's a big project on, and they become super fuzzy. So we need to make sure a boundary is communicated clearly. Boundaries need to remain relatively consistent. Of course, we need to be flexible. If there is all of a sudden a huge deadline at work that is super important, we might have to check emails at 10 p.m. But actually, the rule should be that consistently, this is my boundary. It shouldn't be the exception is your boundary. Have clear consequences if they're violated. So if someone violates your boundary, the consequences need to be communicated clearly. So actually, you've just interrupted me for the third time in the day. I have said that I've got this deadline I need to do. Please, I'm going to shut my office door and please don't disturb me until I come out. Really clearly communicated. Show people how you want to be treated. I love this because a lot of the time we're not very kind or compassionate to ourselves. We usually are more kind and compassionate to other people than we are to ourselves. So invite the right people in and tell them how to treat you well. Tell them what you need. Tell them the support you want. Communicate that effectively. Ultimately, good boundaries come down to good communication. An unhealthy boundary is where we focus on people pleasing. We always want to make sure that other person's happy more than ourselves. Now, of course, as human beings that have to cooperate, there are times where someone else's need has to be valued over our own. But again, that should be the exception, not the rule. An unhealthy boundary is not communicated clearly or even at all. Sometimes we get really upset that someone's overstepped a boundary, but when we reflect on it, we never even communicated it was an issue. They're inconsistent or they change. It's like, well, this week I'm finishing work at 5 and that's it. And then next week I'm going to work until 9 p.m. for no reason, just really inconsistent. They lack consequences for anyone who violates them. And we let anyone in, or the protection side of that is we decide to shut everyone out, even people who are good for us. So, how do we start to set some boundaries without guilt? Often, when we think about setting boundaries, we think of conflict, awkward conversations, disappointing people, people thinking we're difficult, people not liking us. But boundaries don't have to be like that. Boundaries can be delivered very kindly and still be really effective. So, how do we create kind, healthy, clear boundaries? Clarity. One of the biggest mindset shifts that we teach in coaching is that boundaries don't push people away, they bring clarity, and clarity is kindness. We often mistake kindness for doing whatever it is that the other person wants. But that isn't kindness. Kindness is about making sure that we are kind to everyone involved, including ourselves, as much as possible. When we're vague with a boundary, so we say yes when we mean no, or we do something out of guilt, it often leads to inner resentment, frustration, confusion. That can cause us to start to treat that person differently. And they sense that something's wrong, but they maybe haven't worked out why. That's not kind. Clear boundaries set early, set calmly, are actually much easier for other people to work with. Think about a manager you've had that has had no boundaries and how confusing that can be when they then snap because they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. And then a manager you've had that has had really clear boundaries. And even though in the beginning you might have thought, oh, that's a little bit severe, that might be a bit strict, actually you loved the fact that you always knew where you stood. So how do we set kind, clear boundaries? Well, what about things like, I'd love to help you, but right now I don't have the capacity for that. Really focuses more on your availability rather than the no, the refusal. Or could we revisit this after I've completed this project, meeting, date? So warm, but honest and clear. Or what about, it's not something I could take on right now, but have you tried X, Y, or Z? That's a nice one because it gives us this opportunity to still feel like we're offering help and support, but actually we're protecting our own space. Or one kind of way that I like to communicate a kind boundary is I can't do that right now because I'm dealing with X. But what if we catch up on this date and we can have a proper chat about it and I can really give you my time? What one of those would feel kind of most natural to you? Think about it. Think about that yes that you're saying yes to, that you don't want to say yes to, that I mentioned earlier. How could you communicate with more clarity, which therefore would be kind? This is probably my favorite boundary tool. When I mentioned about me struggling with boundaries years ago, this was how I started putting boundaries in place. I don't struggle so much with saying no now, but as someone who is a people pleaser, saying no can feel like the most difficult thing in the world. I don't know, I'm bound to have lots of people pleasers on this call, and you will know that saying no to someone just feels, oh, that level of discomfort is just too much. Don't like it, can't do it. So I came up with this concept that really helped me, which was when I was reading about setting boundaries and learning about it, it was very much about being confident to say no, and no is a complete answer and you don't have to justify it. And I completely agree with the theory of that. But the practice of that as a people pleaser is just too uncomfortable and therefore caused me more stress. So I came up with this idea of instead of saying no, I started by setting stretchy boundaries. And a stretchy boundary is more of a not right now than a no. And that becomes much more comfortable if you're a people pleaser. And the more you play with that, the more you can stretch it until eventually you get to a comfortable no. So someone asks you, oh, can you help me with this? And you literally say, not right now, but once I finish this job project, my working day, then I can help you. No worries, Kelly. Yes, it'll be recorded. Thank you for being here. A stretchy boundary is, oh, could you, even your kids, could you give me a lift to so and so? And you can say, well, not right now, because I've still got some work I need to do, but I will return, I'll be able to give you a lift at 5 o'clock, whatever it is. A stretchy boundary is so much more comfortable. Reframing guilt. So guilt is quite a heavy emotion. If you think about feeling guilty, you can feel like, oh, it just sits there. Guilt really only has one moment of worth. Guilt is there to try and draw our attention to the fact that we haven't met our moral obligations, or we haven't fulfilled a behavior or a standard that we would normally fulfill. Guilt isn't always a sign that you're doing something wrong. Guilt is more of a sign that you're not measuring up to the rules you've already created. Now, absolutely, if you went into a shop and you walked out and realized, oh, I've got this loaf of bread in my hand and I forgot to pay for it, guilt is there as a way of trying to get you to modify your behavior and take corrective action. Oh my goodness, I need to go back, tell them I accidentally walked out with the bread, and I'll pay for it. So guilt has that moment of worth, but it also shows up not necessarily when you're doing something wrong, but when you're doing something that's new for you. So you might feel guilty because you're setting a stretchy boundary. You might feel guilty because you've said, no, I don't want to see my friend tonight. I want a night just to myself. You might feel guilty because you said you couldn't help a colleague because you were working on your own stuff. None of those incidents of guilt are a sign that you're doing something wrong. They're a sign that you're doing something different. And so reframing that guilt and recognizing that, of course, this is going to feel uncomfortable because this is new for me, and that might bring up a feeling of guilt, is totally normal. So instead of seeing guilt as a sign that, oh, I should stop this is a bad thing, which many of us see when that feeling of guilt comes up, instead of seeing it as a bad thing, see it as a sign on the road that is saying, okay, just check in. Is this okay? Is this what you meant to communicate? And then that you can reframe that guilt as actually, this is a sign of me meeting my needs, putting my needs forward. And then another one is creating some scripts. So preparing yourself for ways that you can start to say no, say not right now, say my needs matter in a way that works for you, in a way that's comfortable for you. So things like, oh, I'm just not checking my phone after 9 o'clock anymore. Or actually, once I shut my laptop down, then I'm not checking work emails until the next day. saying those as just a matter-of-fact statement to the rules that you live by will start to become more and more comfortable with you. If you struggle with this, I would even consider having some post-its up ready for you in when someone catches you off guard. Not right now is a great one that you can start to just have as a sticky and make it your default response. So some scripts that you can put into place. Here's what I can do. So this focuses on what you can offer rather than a complete refusal. So someone says to you, "Oh, can you help me with this project?" And you say, "Look, here's what I can do." It doesn't mean yes, it doesn't mean no. This is a lovely stretchy one, but it starts to assert your boundary. Things like, "I'd love to help, but I just don't have the capacity for that right now." It's very warm, it's very honest, it's relatable. Everyone understands what that's like. Um, I've literally used a variation of this with friends as well. You know, when friends are asking you to do things, you know, "Oh, let's go here, let's do that." It's like, "I'd love to, but I'm so busy with work right now. I don't have the capacity to do that as well, to organize that." Works really well. Um, can we revisit this? So can we revisit it creates a boundary, but also a bridge for later. So again, this is quite stretchy. It's not a flat no. It's like, "I can't do it quite now." Or, "That's not something I can take on, but have you tried X?" It's helpful without you absorbing responsibility. So you're not saying, "It's not something I can take on. Let me connect you to this person and they'll do it." It's passing responsibility back and saying, "I can't do it right now, but I'm also offering you a little signpost for you to go and get further help and support." So, couple of things to take. We've covered a lot. It's a massive topic. We do full workshops on boundaries that are in more detail. In the time we have together, I'm hoping it's given you enough of an insight to be able to start to put things in place. Without boundaries, our well-being starts to suffer. We will feel it. We'll feel that compassion fatigue. We'll feel the well-being paradox. Boundaries show people how we want to be treated. Before you get offended at someone overstepping their boundaries, make sure you're communicating it clearly. Boundaries also give other people permission to set their own. So as a people-centric person, you are actually really modeling a positive, healthy behavior. And have some tools ready. Put them in your armory, have some little statements ready, get comfortable with stretchy boundaries. Start off really small, practice on your partner or someone you're really close to, and then start to roll it out. I will hand over to Tom. If you have any questions, either pop them in the chat box while Tom's talking, or like I said, we'll stop recording and we will go and you can unmute. Tom, I will hand over to you for what's next with People People.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Great session. I think the example scripts are really useful, and we will be sending that out with all of the resources. So the videos, the replays will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. I have already put the link for the next session, which is on the 8th of July. It's all about confidence for people. There is a link in the chat, but we will send this out so you can register straight away. If you would like to schedule a call with us to chat about your personal or professional needs, then you can just simply reply to our follow-up email. And there's also a link to join our People Network LinkedIn group in the chat as well. Again, if you're watching on the replay, we'll be able to access this all through the website, which is beamtraining.co.uk/people home. And you'll be able to watch the replays, find the magazine and everything from there. Next up, we also are we will be at a HR network in West Wales on the 24th of June at the St Bride's Hotel and Spa in Saundersfoot. We will, I don't have a link for it right now, but we will add a link if you're in the area and would like to come along. If that is up your street and you're local to it, then and come along. I think there's still tickets, and it is available to anyone of interest. So I think what we'll do is we will stop recording. So if anyone does have any questions, wants to stick around, then you can. We'll keep on the screen just contact details for Leanne and myself. If anyone wants to make note, I'm just going to stop the recording right now.